Okay, now can you see me? Huh. Okay. So now you guys, okay. So now you're starting to see my screen, correct? And okay. Yes, because I'm speaking in both places, correct. But yes, but I can't hear you then. I can't hear you then. Yeah, because I'm actually going to take the. Okay. And we're actually probably going to delete this video when it's done because today I wanted to operate kind of more like a question and answer period. Okay. I need to know what you guys are trying to do out there so that I can show you how to do it. Ron, for you, did you get a chance to view the previous training video at all? Okay, so you have a what we'll call general understanding of operations. That's generous. Okay. Well, the good news is, and this is, I'm kind of coming to you guys for this. One, if you think it would be helpful for me to host a session like this with the whole network once a month where we take 30 minutes or, an hour once a month at the end of the day, similar time to this. And just everybody can kind of ask questions and we can kind of train that way. Is that something you think that would benefit all of you? Okay, so I'll work on starting to set something like that up. Right now, I am going to load a demo that we built before. And well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna open something called my Cyclorama demo. This is something I use inside the lab to kind of showcase the different solutions we have. And what I really want to show here is something that many of you, and by many of you I mean Sarah, have been very impatiently waiting for. And impatiently, I say rightfully so. It has been working, come to find out, the entire time. There's nothing more frustrating than being misled. But that being, yeah. So that being said, there's just some configuration changes that need to take place, and I will call them difficult if you are not a computer person. I consider myself to be fairly technology savvy, and I find it a little bit confusing. So I am more than willing to take time. Please understand our installation schedule over the next, let's call it 8 weeks, is, to put it lightly, insane crazy. And so my availability is limited. However, Sarah, this is something I need you to have access to prior to Pleiades. And my preference would be to set you up either tomorrow or Friday. And so what I want to show you is I'm going to minimize my WorldViewer window. I'm going to make my UniView window smaller so that we can see both that and my dome. Okay, so on this bottom screen down here, you can see the dome. The screen you see above it right here, this is my GUI. This is something you guys probably don't use very often. However, what I will say to you is if any of you own a tablet that is a Windows-based tablet, something similar to like a Surface Pro or whatever, you can actually operate WorldViewer from that tablet standing in front of your audience in the planetarium, walking around, controlling all of WorldViewer right from that tablet. So if that's something you want to learn how to do, Sarah, talk to me when we're together at Pleiades. Same with you, Ron. Are you going to Pleiades? Okay. If that's something that you have access to and it's something you want to learn a little bit more about, let me know. But typically with the size of your room, I'm thinking sitting in front of them at the computer is just as easy. So what I want to show you is this executables that I had taught you in the original training and told you worked, but shh, don't try it yet. It's working. So you just come in, you click Uniview. As we watch, it should be spouting Uniview into, of course it worked in the lab and now it's not going to do it because it hates me. So I'm going to have a couple of windows here. Okay, did you see how everything just went black? Okay, so that's actually Uniview, okay, streaming. See, there it is. A what? Yeah, there's a very good chance that we're on probably a 10-second delay at most. YouTube Live is not going to be exactly right. However, you should see now in the top image, you can see the Earth and you can see it spinning as I spin it here in Uniview. Now, what I'm going to do is let me change my configuration because I'm looking at it on a panorama screen and you guys are going to be more concerned with theater. So just give me 1 second here. Let me change my display. Bell. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so now my dome is going to be more like yours. It's going to be a circular dome. Let me just kind of spread it out here. This input is normally for you guys going to your projector, but for the sake of training, I have it on one screen. So the screen on my left is the screen, your control screen that you would have at your control station. The screen here on my right is the dome. That's what's normally casting on your dome. So what I'll do here is I'm going to make Uniview just a little bit smaller so you can see Uniview next to the dome. But you can see now that as I spin Uniview and I do things in Uniview, it is showing on the dome. The advantage to this is I can now build a composition in WorldViewer, pulling in things of personal videos that you've made, different dome content that you've built. You can pull things in off of YouTube. You can jump over into Uniview, jump out. Maybe you have a different data set from another software that you want to use. So it allows for you to build one single composition and pull in from multiple avenues without having to change what's being displayed on your dome in front of your audience. Okay, so that is the advantage to it. So I know for Sarah, this is something that's pretty big for you because you've been waiting for this. So now you can set up your profiles and your shows in Uniview. You can build the secondary portions to your show in WorldViewer and bounce in and out of Uniview based on your composition when and however you need to. And so what I'm going to show you here is how that's being done. Okay. Because if I understand that correctly, that's probably the gist of what we need to know today, right? Is how do we operate UniView inside of WorldViewer? Okay. So remember, when you are looking at your UniView or your WorldViewer control window, when you hit the tab button, it is going to bring up what we call the composer menu. The composer menu is where you build your composition. Compositions are built just like a book or a movie. They are in chapters, and each chapter is composed of clips. Or is composed of tracks, right? So think of it like a season. A composition is like a television series season, and one composition is a season. Each season has, or I'm sorry, one composition is a series. Each chapter is a season. Each track is an episode, right? So you have all these little things that are going on that build up this entire series, right? So in this one, you can see I have a lot of different things going on. This is a composition I use to showcase both astronomy and commercial experiences using our software. So there's going to be things in here that aren't necessarily 100% relevant to you guys, but the purpose or the thought process behind it is all the same. Putting a clip in is putting a clip in, and spouting a program in is spouting a program in. So space is the furthest back from you. So if you want something to appear the farthest layer back, meaning every other track below it is on top of it. Like if you were in Photoshop, it would, and it was a transparent image, it would show through, from the image above it. So top is furthest back in space. Then you come all the way up to what we have as voice. That is the closest to you, right? So anything in that section will overlay anything above it. Inside the chapter, or inside a track of a chapter, you can have as many clips as you want. And so a good chapter for me to kind of work with you guys on to start is going to be panels, right? When you're building a composition, it automatically has this earth in here. You can insert a space layer, and I'll show you how to do that. Anytime you want to input a clip, you just right click and you're going to say load new clip. Okay. So when I say load new clip, I have to say what I want. Is this an image sequence that I've built? Is it a single file? Is this a GUI button or a button I want on the screen that when I click it makes something happen, right? Like you saw me click on UniView and it launched UniView. Okay. What was that? Okay, so that's all right. So then, file is what you're going to use most often. All right. Inside file, you have all your content folders. This is where you saved all of the content you're working with. It is located in C, Illuminati, WorldViewer 2 content. Okay, so it's in your C drive in your Illuminati folder. From here, if you want to insert something, for example, a space background, you go to space and you choose one of the space images, and then you tell it. Even though it's in the space track, it doesn't necessarily mean that I want WorldViewer to interpret it as a star map. Okay, the interpretation is how am I warping this image, right? So a star map means it is space. Everything is in front of it. So when I spin in a circle, everything in Earth and panos and pictures is going to be on top of this layer, and the layer is going to wrap the entire background 360 degrees. Okay. An Earth overlay, it's going to take the image and warp it and wrap it all the way around Earth, right? So if you had climate image sequences that you wanted to put over the Earth so you could see the changes of climate, you would do that as an Earth overlay. Geolocated. This is primarily only going to be used when you're inputting a video that you want to be geolocated somewhere on the Earth, okay? What that means is that if you go to that part of the Earth and you click on that bubble located in, let's call it Sydney, Australia, then you are going to fly into that location. So it's just locating your content where it is relative to the world. Okay. Picture in picture, think of this like a billboard. So maybe you have a piece of flat content. When you try to stretch it to wrap the entire dome, it just looks terrible, even though you've got automatic warping going on, but you still want to show this video. What you could do is called a picture in picture. It's like popping a picture in picture in a TV screen up, and then that will play as a picture in picture in your dome. Fisheye Dome Master. This is, you're going to place this typically in the panos or in PIPs or picture in pictures track, just because I like to keep things generally located where they are in relativity to my audience experience. But your Fisheye Dome Master is where you're going to place pre-warped fisheye movies. It is also how you're going to place any movie that you want warped across the entire full dome and you want it to cover everything. Nothing is going to show up in front of it except for maybe images that you place in a track above it, right? So if I wanted to put text up as an image, I could do that on top of the dome. But Fisheye Dome Master is for a full dome show. Touch screen button graphic. What this means is you want a button on the touch screen, which is going to be your GUI screen. Most of you are not going to deal with this, but it is, touch button activation to create automated experiences. You can also place these buttons on your WorldViewer Composer menu like I have here, right? So when I take the Composer away, I have these buttons here. I can return to main menu, right? And etc. So that is what a touch button graphic is. A touch screen graphic is an image that you want to show up on the touch screen, but not on the dome. But it's not a button. It is not going to make you do anything. It's just going to be text or a graphic. That being said, let's go into some of these panels. So these panels are geolocated bubbles. So when I right click, I say, let's load a new clip. It's a file. And I'm going to go to my panels. Let's put in, let's go to Peach Dragon. Okay, so we put in Magic in the Woods, Peach Dragon 360 video. We say it's geolocated, and we are clicking on this now. It's going to be the last one entered. I try to change these names so there's no special characters in here. Special characters tend to make it export weird, etc. So I like to rename this clip whatever I want. So I'll call it Peach Dragon. And I come here to geolocation and I say Peach Dragon. Oh, that was very nice. Peach. Oh, I already have something called Peach Dragon. Peach. We'll just call it Dragon. Okay. So location. We are going to put so I put in MSU Moorhead, Minnesota. That's where Peach Dragon lives. And so it automatically changes my latitude and longitude. Okay. So if I go to my panels chapter, which I can launch by clicking this eyeball, okay, I come here, I go to my panel bubbles. Now they're all here. If I go to Moorhead, Minnesota, which I could have spun the other way and gone much faster. There is Peach Dragon. Oh, and then I zoomed out right there. So we fly in. It just geolocated that relative on the Earth to its latitude and longitude. So now it's going to play the Peach Dragon video. Okay. That is how you enter a panel bubble, right? So let's say I want to enter a full dome show. I'm going to go to my full dome menu. So in full dome, I would just come over here. Well, you can have the chapter named whatever you want. But how I'm going to enter it is I like to put it under Panos chapter. But if you wanted, you could right click over here and say new track, and we could call it full domes, right? You can name it however you'd like. Now I can come here, right click, load a new clip. It's going to be a file. I'm coming to my Panos, and I go to my full dome shows, and we will do, Journey to the Center of the Milky Way, right? Now this is a fisheye dome master, right? So now if I play this chapter, my other full dome shows are going to try and play. So now you can see it is playing that full dome show. If we look at my dome, you can see that that full dome show is playing. Okay. If for some reason that full dome is not warping correctly or it doesn't look right on my screen, all of those settings can be adjusted under position and orientation, advanced settings. You can come in here and you can say, is it stereo? Is it over under? Is it side by side? Is it mono? Do we have to do some cropping? Does it need to be flipped? We can do, let's see. You can do fisheye correction. Was it full dome already? Was it truncated fisheye? Is it from a GoPro rig? You can kind of just change these here. You also have hand adjustable fisheye settings. Okay, so you can play with these settings to get the video to fit your screen properly without having to pull it into After Effects and pre-render it for your screen. Now for what people really want to know, and that's how to make UniView come in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new chapter. All right, we're going to call the chapter UniView Training. I don't really need a space or anything right here, but you might want something to happen, or you want the chapter you're working with beforehand to launch the app. Because there's two things you can do. You can have UniView running in the background like I do right now, okay? And if you do that, then you just need a chapter in here, and you just right click and you say load a new clip. I tend to use the earth location so it's up nice and high so I can see how it says spout cube. And the clip the clip I'm loading is a template, okay? This is something that we've created so that you can spout it in. So you come in and you say, this is a template. It's a system template. And what you are doing is you are trying to spout. You want to spout something from UniView or Worldwide Telescope, those different ones we've told you can spout from. So you would click spout, and you would choose cube map, right? Standard. You just want, that's the way that UniView outputs, is just a standard cube map. So you choose cube map standard. It comes in here, and when I'm playing this chapter, whatever is displaying in UniView at the time is what is going to display in my dome, right? So if I come here, I don't know how to use UniView. Somebody tell me how to do something. I don't know how to use UniView. Somebody tell me how to do something in here. Like, can I fly to something, right? Okay, so let's do something simple. Let's fly to Saturn, right? Right click, fly to. So now if you look at my dome, okay, my dome that I'm projecting up on through WorldViewer is doing what UniView is doing, right? So you can see UniView doing it here, and you can see it being displayed on my dome here. So you control UniView still in the UniView window, but it displays in WorldViewer. That way, when you're done using UniView, let's say you want to bounce to a full dome show that you created straight from UniView, and you don't want to drag the window over the dome so everybody sees you dragging it over, right? Then you're just gonna in your WorldViewer composition, you're just gonna open up your window and you're gonna say, okay, now I want to go to my full dome chapter. So you click the eyeball to play that. Now on your dome, it's playing your full dome movie, and nobody ever saw anything of you switching from one program to the next. All that happened is your full dome movie started. And the nice thing is Sarah, you and I will get some one-on-one time when we're down in St. Louis. But if you, so let's say you plan out the show that you want to build, and you're starting to build it, and you hit a snag, and you're like, okay, this is what I wanted to do next. Just call my cell phone. Same with you, Ron. You have my cell phone number, correct? Okay, so do you have the UniView contact? Because what I'm thinking about doing is setting up an online updated UniView training. Is this something that we think the network could use as a whole? From Greg Mancari. Okay, I would agree, because I feel like you guys are paying all of this money to use UniView, and those of you that are using it day in and day out, yes, you can do your average stuff. But those of you that aren't using it on the daily, this stuff is hard to keep on top of mind, right? So I think a refresh course might be helpful. So let me see what I can do about setting that up. Other than kind of what we did, what I want to do is show you one more thing inside that is in relation to UniView, right? So you saw all I do to spout it in is just put in that template, spout cube, and then I play that chapter. As soon as I play that chapter, it's immediately spouting whatever is going on inside of UniView. Okay. Does anybody have questions about making UniView display in WorldViewer? Okay. Right. And like I said, what I'm going to, you don't have that template? And you want cube map standard. Well, I need to do some configuration changes to UniView on your computers. And that's why I say you and I need to get together at some point tomorrow. I have a demo in the lab at 10 a.m. Central. So I'm busy from, like, let's call it 10 to noon. I'm available in the afternoon. I'm available I don't want to put myself out there in the morning, but I'm available in the afternoon if you and I want to do more of me log into the system, do one-on-one. You open up a composition that you're working on and you say, this is where I want UniView, and I'll program your first one so that you have one composition that's built that has it in there, so you can go and look at it and be like, okay, oh, I don't have this setting on, or I don't have that setting on, right? The last one I want to show you is how to make WorldViewer automatically open UniView for you, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show this by closing UniView. All right, so you can all see my tray down on the bottom, right? So I'm closing UniView right now, and I'm going to go to the main menu for my composition. If you watch, when I come down to executables, what happens is I click UniView, and it should not have something to spout in there right now. It's remembering the last image. But theoretically speaking, it should be launching, except for Donardo made some changes, my program. And how it knows how to do this is I'm going to bring you there. So I come to UniView, it has this time script, okay? What you do is you just tell the time script what executable file do you want it to launch when you hit that button, okay? And right now, for some reason, it is not actually doing it because I think my UniView location moved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refine that file. So we'll come to C, Program Files x86, where's SKIS, there you are, UniView 2.0, and here is the file, right? So this is the one I want it to execute, okay? So now when I come here, oh, it's trying to launch Worldwide Telescope. So I come back here, I launch this, hopefully, oh, see, there it did, it launched UniView. See how it's showing up down at the bottom now? And I can hit start default. So it will automatically launch UniView for you by just picking that time script. And let me show you where that template is, okay? So just like we put in the template for the cube map, which is the ability for WorldViewer to see what's happening in UniView, we can put in a template for launching UniView so you don't have to click start, blah, blah, blah. My recommendation is if you're doing your show chapter after chapter after chapter, put this function 1 or 2 chapters ahead, like I have here, and I'll show you what to do. So we'll come in, we're not doing a file, we're doing a template. So we right click, load new clip, it's a template, and this template is a system template, okay? And this is a clip exe. What we're trying to do is we're trying to execute something. So this is an executable clip, and there's only one. So you choose it, it puts this clip in. I come to the clip and I call this the UniView launcher. So I know what it is. I come to browse for file to tell it what I want it to do. And I say, I want you to go to C, Program Files x86. What is going on here? Okay, and SKIS, UniView 2, UniView exe. Click open. So now when this chapter starts, it will automatically launch UniView 2.0. And of course, my computer's freezing now because I'm trying to tell it to do too much too fast. When you are doing it in a chapter and you want UniView to stay running in the background, you need to paste a link. And how you paste a link, okay, is by clicking on that clip and then going to the areas you want it and just right click in the location and say paste link. And as soon as my computer unfreezes, I will attempt to show you what I mean. Yeah. It's only going to launch UniView. We can't tell UniView what to do. So you still have to click the start profile button, okay? But what I will say to that is this. In my opinion, have UniView already open. That I'm showing you that you can make the composition open, UniView and Worldwide Telescope and these other programs. The reality is you should just keep it open. When you're getting ready to do a show, just keep UniView running in the background. The computers and equipment we have provided the network, it is definitely strong enough to run both applications simultaneously. So I'm showing you it can be done. The reality of you actually using it is probably slim to none. You will just keep UniView open. You'll run your WorldViewer application, and then when you click the UniView, because you don't want to wait, right? You don't want that time lapse in your show where you're waiting for UniView to launch. But for giggles, if you do make it launch and you want it to stay open, you need to make sure that that clip is in every chapter. Just come to the where you have it, click on the clip, then go to the chapter you want it to be in, and you right click and hit paste link. Paste link means you want it to be the exact same clip. And what that means is a link means when it's playing in one chapter, it's playing in the other. Okay, so a good example of this would be background music. Let's say you wanted background music to play during all of the chapters, and you never want the background music to stop when you go from chapter to chapter. Then you would put that music in the first chapter, and you would paste a link through the rest of the chapters so that as you go from chapter to chapter, that clip doesn't stop. Because when you leave a chapter, WorldViewer is automatically programmed to stop all of the clips that are in that chapter unless it is a link to another chapter. So a paste link means it's doing it the whole time in any chapter that it is, and it's going to be in the same position it left off last time. A paste clone means I want, like, let's say I have a full dome video that I put in there, and I want all the exact same settings that I just programmed to that full dome, I want in the rest of my full domes. Then I would just paste clone, and I would change the file to the different movie types, right? Because, what? Yeah, so that's the difference between paste clone and paste link. And let me tell you, I had many frustrating hours in order to learn that. You know, let's just say that I got really sick and tired of my clips starting over every time I did something. So I finally did some digging, and they're like, oh, yeah, it does that. It's like, well, that would have been useful information last month. So other than kind of what we've refreshed on, I'm available to you guys anytime, day or night. Trust me, my husband loves it. Okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to call me and say, I can't figure this out. Trust me, if I can't answer the call, I won't. And as soon as I can call you back, I will. And so, play with it. You're gonna, until you really dive into it and start doing things with it, you're not gonna have questions for me. But in case you do, I'm here for you. So does anybody have any questions right now? Okay. Do I know? Yes. Do I want to show you? I'm gonna show you. I'll show you what they mean when they're talking about that. Okay, what they mean is that your Omnity settings don't match the exact setup of your dome. Okay, and what that means is when we updated your WorldViewer, it overwrote the configuration file. So you see, like when I go like this and I hit escape and I come to my input and I change what dome shape, and it's called your Omnity configuration, what dome shape I'm using, right? So these are all different domes that I've displayed on before. And so I have to tell what the software how to warp it to fit that exact dome. Now, most of you are on a variation of a theater, okay, which is a full circle, full dome projection. What's happening is your theater is on a tilt, okay? Right? I'm assuming your dome is tilted 15 degrees. Are you truncated? Okay, that's why. All right. So, but the moral of the story is it's your Omnity configuration settings. There is a way to get into those. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen so you can see what it looks like, but I'm not gonna tell you how to get there. Maybe when I'm on your computer, I'll show you, but I don't want you to get in there and screw it up because it'll be harder for us to fix, right? So this tilt you can see right here, I can adjust the tilt on what degrees I want what I consider to be facing forward, right? So at what point of an axis am I considered facing forward for my audience? And that is your tilt. And so what I'll do is I'll get somebody to jump on and adjust your tilt for you. But it's going to take a little bit of teamwork because obviously we can't see the dome. We can only see your computer screen. So it'll be kind of like a working together, and we'll do a little adjustment and you'll say, oh, almost, not quite, right? And so once it hits the point where it is where you want it, then we should be fine. And that should be that when you zoom all the way out of space, right? So as soon as I can get all the way back here. So if I were to be looking at Earth, for example, like I am in my Panos menu, then what you should see on your dome is Earth way off in the distance like this, right? So when this Earth would be like 3/4 of the way up your dome to the top center. Where it is now is where it should be displaying on your dome, right? Nearly, well, I would say let's call halfway to the top. And so that will be adjusted by your tilt. And if I will send you a little message with how to get into your Omnity settings. Just make sure if you change anything, you first write down what it was originally. So if it didn't work, you can change it back. And then when you save it, you want to change the file name so that if something happens, you still have the original configuration we set you. Well, it doesn't necessarily matter what the file name is. What happened is when we upgraded your circa 1960 WorldViewer, it's totally different, right? So you were operating in WorldViewer 1, and WorldViewer 2 is written on a completely different platform. It's a totally different piece of software, although it does the same things and many things look similar. It's a complete new build. So you couldn't even use things that you had in WorldViewer 1. Like if you had, like poor Paul at Mayo, he, he had compositions built, but there's nothing you can do. I mean, it's a sacrifice, right? If you want to grow with the software, it was a change we had to make to encompass the different things that all of you wanted, like being able to stream Uniview in as Uniview continued to upgrade and things of that nature. So for that reason, just like remember when you switched to Uniview 2, I don't know if you were around when they did that, but when they switched over to Uniview 2, all your profiles were lost. And that's what happened to you, Ron, is your profiles get lost because it's a new build, right? It's a new version. It's not similar to the one before it. It's got a lot of different code. And so oftentimes unless the company is large enough that they invest the budgetary necessity of being able to convert those old files, there's nothing really you can do. And so that's what happened with that situation. And so even if we had kept the original file when we had upgraded your system, the new version of WorldViewer would not have understood the language. Yep. The good news is it's built in Unity now. So going forward, we can, I mean, WorldViewer could essentially become a virtual reality video game. I mean, it's that robust in the coding that is used. So it will be a good decade before anything changes on that. So let's just hope many of us are retiring or are getting close to retirement and have somebody else we can tell that needs to rebuild all the compositions. So with, okay. Mm-hmm. Google Street View. Yep. Yeah. So Google recently changed all of their coding with this, but it still, we'll call it, sort of works, right? I'm going to show you a better way to do it. So there's a couple of things you can do, right? You can input things like Google Street View or a YouTube video as a panel bubble, right? So for example, we'll go load new clip in Panos. We're going to choose a template, okay? System. And here we have Street View, right? And we have web, we have online video, right? So for example, let's say we were doing YouTube. Clip online video, we want it to be a panel bubble, okay? So if it was a YouTube video that was a fisheye or a dome, full dome, you would do the same thing, but you would do full dome. What I caution you is, remember, this is all internet, right? So depending on what time of day it is and how much is going on at your location and how many people are on the internet and how many people are using Street View is going to determine how well this works, because you're relying on a stable internet connection. So I caution you in using these features. I'm going to show you a workaround that is more stable, but how you would do that then is you would come to this clip, right? So I input a clip and I called it a video, and here I would change the URL, right? And I would just paste in the YouTube URL, right? So let's say I went to one of my videos to the Minnesota network. I would just come on it. I would right click on it as soon as it's, and I would say copy URL, right? So right click, copy video URL, and that's the URL that I would use in that instance, okay? It gets kind of finicky. YouTube and Google changes their scripting and their code often, okay? And with that in mind, I discourage you from using this feature unless it's something that you programmed that day for something specific that you're doing that day. If it's something you want to continue to do over and over and over, here is what I suggest, okay? One, there's an application that is free to download, and it is called 4K Download, 4K Video Downloader, okay? I have it on my computer, and understand that items on YouTube are signed off as not being copyright, okay? So if it's on YouTube, theoretically speaking, you should be able to use it, right? And I'm going to show you how to do Street View workaround in a second here. So what I would do is I would come in, and you can see I've gotten full dome movies from YouTube in 4K. Okay, so I'll search 360 full dome planetarium show, right? And so here, for example, is a 38 minute movie. It's in 360, right? You can see this. Okay, so it's in full dome. What I would do is I would just right click and say copy video URL, and you come to your 4K video downloader and hit paste link. When you do that, it automatically is going to start downloading that movie as a file, and it's going to show you the highest resolution it was uploaded to YouTube in, and you can choose which resolution you want. So I'm going to choose 2K for this particular one and hit download. So now it's downloading that show. It's a 1.2 gigabyte file. It's huge, right? That is how if I was going to use something off of YouTube, that is how I would do it. The full dome shows that I showed you in at any point are all downloaded off of YouTube. These are not things that I have built or made or anything of that nature. They're all free shows I've gotten from YouTube. All right. That being said, Google Street View is going to be very similar. So let's go to so here is Sarah somewhere in this general vicinity, right? Let's see if we can find her car. So, so Google Street View, right, allows for you to come in and do Street View, right? So here we are. There is something called streetview.com. Okay. iStreetView gives what's called a panel ID for anything loaded inside of Google Street View. And so what I do is because I want my content, Sarah, hosted locally. I don't like to rely on internet because it makes my equipment and hardware look janky and look bad, when in all actuality it's the internet. And we all have enough challenges in the planetarium world than to try and be explaining to them, I promise it's good equipment, it's the internet that's the problem, right? So what you do is I come in here, and this way, let's say I wanted an inside view, because people can upload 360 images to Google Street View and to Google Maps. So let's say I found a really cool side of your campus, right? Let's just take a look and see what you guys have here. No, that's not 360. You can tell they're 360 obviously by that little loop there. Okay, so I picked a really bad example. Apparently your school's not very good at uploading 360-degree images, but let's just pick this one for example, right? So here is a 360-degree image that somebody uploaded of your university, some courtyard. I'm sure is familiar to you, Sarah. I would just come up here where it's listed, and I would hit share or embed image. When I do that, URL, I'm just going to copy that URL, bring it over to Street View, okay, and I'm going to hit load a panorama from a URL. I paste it in, I load it, it gives me my panel ID, and I can download the 360 image file, right? It's going to make a little program that you download, which I've already done, okay? But you would just download for Windows. Once you do it the first time, you can do it over and over and over and over. Let me see if I have mine quick, easily accessible so I can show you all the way through this process. So Street View download, that's the folder that you download. So once I have that panel ID, which I got by pasting the URL in here, Google secretly identifies and tries to hide their panel 360 images, even though it's user content. It's not even their content, right? So once I do that, I just click download oh, I need to tell it where to save it. I'm just going to save it to my desktop for quick retrieval. So I'm going to save it, download panorama. You can see it's working down here. So there's 98 files in relation to the sequence of this panorama image. So now if I come into WorldViewer and I come to panel bubbles and we take the one that we did of you, or the Peach Dragon at Moorhead, I can come here and change this file to be the one that we just downloaded from my Street View. All right. And now when we come to panel bubbles and we go to MSU Moorhead, there you can see the panel bubble right here. So now I click that bubble. This is how I would recommend using Street View. For one reason and one reason only. You're not going to sacrifice resolution, and you're going to have really good quality experience for your visitors, right? I mean, this is something that they're going to be able to see quickly, right? And that is how I would use Street View. You can do it the other way, but I wouldn't. I like to keep things locally hosted. Does that answer your question in a very long way? And what I'll do, you guys, is I will shoot an email out to you with links to the things we talked about, like the 4K video downloader, the iStreetView.com, the Street View downloader. In case you guys want to visit them. But I'll tell you, when you're doing a show and you have a visiting school come in, for you to take 10 minutes to quick download a panel of outside of their school, it makes a huge difference to them. And the nice thing is, you saw how quickly I changed Moorhead's panel bubble from Peach Dragon to one. You know, you can have your show built and expect to replace that panel bubble every time you're doing a new show for a new group, right? And the cool thing is, like, sometimes you can find really cool stuff. Like, for example, I'm going to load a composition here that I just did. I had a client that we just got back from San Diego last week, and they, oh, that's not the one. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we did a really cool composition for them where we did fly-ins, and I did it all using this iStreet Viewer or iStreetViewer.com and the different downloaded images, but it makes your guest experience awesome. They had a bunch of clients there from all over the world, from all the different Deloitte centers and SAP centers. And all we set WorldViewer to do is just continuously loop and do fly-ins and do panel bubbles. But when I went to some of these locations on Google Maps, some of them had really cool 360-degree images of inside the coffee shop in their, lounge, or, you just never know what you're going to find on Google Street View. And so I encourage you to take that extra step and do that, because it really will make it special for them. Any other questions while my computer's trying to unfreeze? Yeah, because if you know that they were recorded the same way, or they're equirectangular, or whatever the case may be, that will really help you to be able to clone them. It makes things a lot faster. Same with picture-in-picture, right? When you do billboard pop-ups, it's nice to copy those because then you know it's the same size as all the other billboards, right? It's not like you're trying to resize it every time and get it to match. And so it's a really good feature for you guys to brush up on. What we'll do is we'll end it for today. If what I'm going to do is probably set up another training right after Pleiades, and hopefully I can get Greg Mancari to get involved in that training as well. And I'll send a notice out to everybody in the network. In the meantime, Ron, if you want to have more of a one-on-one session and build, a basic composition for yourself, so you have something that you can start using WorldViewer with, let me know. If you need me to set you up with Greg Mancari, because if I remember correctly, when I was up there, you were having some struggles with UniView operation, and I want to make sure that you guys are utilizing the software that you're paying for. So let me know if I can be of any assistance in helping you get the instruction that you need. Sarah, you and I should probably talk tomorrow morning about when we can be available for each other prior to Pleiades. And that way I can also get into your computers and do it. If you could give me access to the main Dome computer and have the laptop sitting next to you, I feel like you're skilled enough that you could be mimicking what I'm doing on the big computer, on the little computer. And then we can try and get both of them taken care of right away for you. All right, you guys, yeah, my guess is it's image. Yeah, my guess is the image sequences should all still work. So that shouldn't be an issue. It's just going to have to be rebuilt. So as long as all of the original files are there, we should be able to build it no problem. And if, you and I need to, set a day aside or whatever to get a couple hours together, I think the best thing to do would be for me to kind of log on or have you share your screen so I can watch you do it. But if you're anything like me, you learn better when you're clicking the buttons. And somebody is just saying, okay, to do that, click file, click this, click that. And I can kind of watch as you're building it. Otherwise, I can just build it in front of you, whatever is your best method of learning. All right, excellent. No problem. You guys have a good day. Yep, bye-bye. Stop it.